My name is Lena Foster. I'm 35 years old, an independent data analyst living in Asheville, North Carolina, a small city known for its vibrant art scene, rolling mountains, and crisp, refreshing air. Every morning, I wake up in my cozy, vintage-style home nestled in this quiet town, where soft sunlight filters through the curtains and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee fills the air. Outside, the cool mountain breeze carries the gentle songs of birds, painting a peaceful picture that contrasts sharply with the storm raging inside me. Day after day, I dive deep into oceans of data, thousands of numbers, charts, and reports, searching for hidden patterns and truths others tend to overlook. This work is more than just a career. It's how I regain control over the chaos that surrounds me and assert my worth after a past marked by betrayal and heartbreak. I built my life from the ground up after walking away from a marriage full of lies and deceit. Beneath my calm exterior lies a fierce storm of emotions, the raw sting of betrayal, the crushing weight of being abandoned by those I once trusted most. I'm not just a data analyst. I'm a survivor, a fighter weaving through scars and uncovering dark secrets that threaten to unravel me. Each morning, I rise with the dawn, brew a strong cup of black coffee, and step out onto my balcony to watch the Blue Ridge Mountains draped in mist. I spend a few moments in quiet meditation, centering myself for the long, challenging day ahead. When I look at my computer screen, I don't just see dry numbers. I see the story of my life. My struggles, my victories, and the calculated attempts to break me. This serene environment feels worlds apart from the fierce fire inside me, the fire that fuels my plan for justice, revenge, and rediscovery. I refuse to let pain defeat me. I will rise stronger than ever before. I've been building this little tech startup here in Asheville for over 2 years now, and it's become my second home, maybe even my first. Nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains, Asheville feels like a world away from the chaos of big cities. With its crisp mountain air, towering pines swaying gently outside my window, and the distant hum of the French Broad River weaving through the valley. The town is a mosaic of colorful murals, indie coffee shops, and creative souls, artists, coders, makers, all trying to carve out their own space. My office is a cozy attic room in a reclaimed warehouse downtown, where exposed brick meets strings of fairy lights. My desk is cluttered with notebooks filled with scribbled ideas, a half-empty mug stained with black coffee, and my laptop, the lifeblood of this venture. Each morning I wake up before sunrise, watch the soft light spill over the mountains, and dive into a routine of coding, meetings, and endless problem-solving. I often lose track of time, fingers flying across the keyboard as I wrestle with algorithms or design user experiences that will connect our community more deeply. But it's not just work. I've become part of this creative ecosystem, attending late-night gallery openings, sharing ideas over cold brews at local cafes, and collaborating with artisans who inspire me every day. This startup isn't just a business. It's a lifeline, a dream I clutch tightly amid the uncertainties of life. Yet beneath this calm, a storm brews. Every success I achieve feels fragile, like it could be ripped away at any moment. There's an unspoken tension I carry, the knowledge that some close to me don't want to see me win. They doubt me, undermine me, and sometimes betray me. But I've learned to turn that doubt into fuel. Each betrayal hardens my resolve, sharpens my focus. I'm no longer the naive dreamer. I'm a warrior ready to protect what's mine, not just for me, but for everyone who believed in this vision. Some days, exhaustion crashes over me like the mountain fog outside my window. I catch myself staring out at the endless ridges, wondering how I got here, why the path has been so twisted. But then, I remind myself, the mountain shapes the river, but it never controls its flow. I will carve my own path, no matter the obstacles. Garrett was my partner in every sense, at least that's what I thought. He wasn't just my husband. He was the co-founder of our startup, the charismatic face who knew how to open doors and charm investors. From the outside, he looked like the perfect package. Sharp suits tailored to perfection, a winning smile that could sell ice to the Arctic, and a voice smooth enough to make even the harshest critics listen. But behind that polished veneer was something cold, calculating, and ruthless. I remember the early days, when we were hunched over laptops in our cramped apartment, fueled by cheap takeout and big dreams. We talked for hours about disrupting the tech world, about building something that mattered. I poured my heart and soul into the data analytics, the algorithms, the late-night coding marathons. Garrett handled the networking, the pitches, the people stuff. It felt like a perfect balance until the cracks started showing. Slowly, I noticed the late-night calls, the whispered conversations when he thought I wasn't listening. The subtle dismissals when I brought up ideas he hadn't bothered to mention to investors. He began taking credit for work he hadn't done, painting himself as the mastermind while I was relegated to the background. The man I once trusted to have my back was weaving a web of lies, all for his own gain. But what stung the most wasn't the betrayal in business. It was the cold indifference in our personal life, the way his eyes glazed over when I tried to share my fears, the way he prioritized his ambitions over our partnership. Garrett wasn't just ambitious, he was ruthless. And when the time came, he didn't hesitate to stab me in the back to secure his place at the top. Despite everything, I never lost my edge. Every cold glance, every hidden agenda, only sharpened my resolve. Garrett thought he could outplay me, but I was ready to turn the tables. I was no longer just the woman who built the algorithms, I was the storm he never saw coming. The day of the big investment meeting finally arrived, the moment that would decide the fate of our company. The stakes couldn't have been higher. We were set to present via video call to a panel of potential investors, their faces flickering in neat squares on my laptop screen. The conference room was virtual, but the tension in the air was as real as if we were all sitting in the same room. Outside my window, the relentless Appalachian rain tapped against the glass, a steady drumbeat that seemed to echo the storm brewing inside me. The sky was a blanket of steel-gray clouds, casting a cold, muted light over my small home office. The sound of water hitting the roof and the occasional rumble of distant thunder heightened the atmosphere, isolating, suffocating, but strangely cleansing. It was a perfect backdrop for the battle I was about to face. I sat at my desk, fingers poised over the keyboard, heart hammering but mind razor-sharp. Every detail of the presentation was drilled into me. The market analysis, the growth projections, the innovative tech we had developed. This was more than just numbers and slides. It was my future, my legacy, my hard-fought dream hanging in the balance. Garrett was there too, sharp in his tailored suit, confidence oozing from every pore. But today, something was different. I could see the faint flicker of uncertainty behind his practiced smile, like a crack in the polished surface. He'd been acting strange these past few weeks, but I kept my focus. Whatever game he was playing, I was ready. As the meeting started, the investors' voices filtered through my speakers, sharp and expectant. The rain outside drummed louder, the rhythmic sound mixing with the quickened beat of my heart. Alone in that room, surrounded by shadows and screens, I felt a fierce determination. This was my moment, and no storm, no betrayal would stop me. Just before the meeting was about to start, I noticed Garrett's iPad resting unattended on the side table, its screen glowing softly in the dim light. Curiosity gnawed at me. I knew better than to trust him completely by now. When I glanced over, a new message popped up from a contact saved only as S. My heart skipped. S was Simone, an ambitious lawyer I'd heard about through business circles, someone reputed to be both ruthless and brilliant. And now, from the glimpses of their conversation I managed to catch, it was clear she wasn't just a legal advisor. She was complicit in something far darker. The messages were laced with coded language, plans about sidelining me from the company, talks of investors being manipulated, and references to the final push coming soon. It was like peeling back a layer of deception I hadn't fully realized was there, a conspiracy hiding in plain sight. My mind raced, anger bubbling beneath a cold, focused exterior. Garrett had been plotting against me all along, and Simone was the shadowy accomplice pulling strings behind the scenes. The betrayal stung sharper than any personal slight. I was being undermined not just as a partner, but as a woman fighting to claim what was rightfully hers. Despite the shock, I forced myself to remain composed. This discovery was fuel for the fire, proof I needed to not only protect my work, but expose the rotten core threatening to destroy everything I had built. The storm outside matched the turmoil inside me, relentless, powerful, and ready to break. The messages laid out a chilling blueprint. Garrett and Simone weren't just casually talking, they were orchestrating a full-scale takeover. Their plan was ruthless. First, to dismantle my reputation piece by piece in front of our investors. They intended to paint me as unreliable, distracted, maybe even incompetent, anything to shake their confidence in me. They exchanged strategies on how to leak misleading information, subtly sabotage my presentations, and spread rumors that would make me look like the weak link. The goal was clear. Isolate me from the company's core decision-makers, so that by the time the investors turned their backs, Garrett could seize full control without opposition. I felt a cold wave wash over me. Every word was a calculated attack on everything I'd sacrificed. Months, years of sweat and sleepless nights, reduced to a manipulation game behind my back. And to think I had trusted him. But as much as the betrayal cut deep, I also felt a fierce clarity. This wasn't just about the company anymore, it was about survival, about reclaiming my dignity and exposing the truth before it was too late. I knew I had to act carefully. One wrong move and I'd become the victim of their scheme. But armed with this secret, I was ready to fight back, not just for the startup but for myself. The rain outside was relentless, drumming against the window panes of my small Asheville apartment, the steady rhythm echoing the pounding in my chest. The sky was a heavy gray, the kind that pressed down on you and made every breath feel dense and slow. The dense forests surrounding the town seemed to blend into the mist, blurring the edges of reality, just like the haze of betrayal that was about to cloud my world. Inside, the soft hum of my laptop filled the dimly lit room, casting flickering shadows against the walls lined with local art and worn books. I sat at my cluttered desk, fingers trembling slightly as I scrolled through Garrett's messages on his iPad, left carelessly on the kitchen counter. The glow of the screen illuminated the cold, calculated words exchanged between him and someone named S. Simone, a sharp and ambitious lawyer with a reputation for ruthless deals. Each line I read felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. They weren't just plotting to oust me from the startup I had poured my heart into for years. Garrett had planned to sabotage me in the most personal and dangerous way, by drugging me during the pivotal investor meeting scheduled just hours from now. I remembered the preparation. The late nights refining our pitch, the endless market research, the strategy sessions that stretched until dawn. This meeting was supposed to be my moment, the turning point for our fledgling company nestled in the mountain town I loved, a beacon of creativity and hope. Yet now I was faced with the horrifying realization that Garrett viewed me as an obstacle to be quietly erased. A cold shiver ran down my spine as I pictured the scene. Garrett pouring the coffee with a smile so polished it barely concealed his venomous intent. The room smelled faintly of brewing espresso, the aroma usually comforting, now twisted into a sinister prelude. I could almost feel his eyes on me, masked by feigned warmth, while he plotted my downfall in silent cruelty. My heart pounded in furious defiance. This wasn't just about business. It was a brutal personal betrayal, a toxic assault on my trust and my very being. But despite the shock and the surge of fear, a fierce resolve ignited within me. I refused to be a victim in my own story. I leaned back, eyes fixed on the rain-streaked window as the first drops slipped down the glass like tears. I allowed myself a moment to breathe, to collect every shard of strength left inside. The storm outside mirrored the one within me, wild, relentless, but also cleansing. This was the moment where everything changed. Garrett's scheme, so meticulously planned, would not succeed. I was already setting my own traps, weaving a web of justice that would ensnare him and expose the darkness he hid behind his charming facade. I closed the iPad gently, steeling my nerves. Tonight, the mountain air would carry more than rain, it would carry the whispers of a reckoning. And I would be ready. Shock hit me first, a cold, numbing wave that froze my thoughts for a split second. How could Garrett, the man I once trusted, plot such a cruel betrayal? The realization cut deeper than any wound I'd ever known. But beneath the shock, a fierce flame of anger flared up, burning away any lingering doubt or hesitation. This wasn't just deceit. It was a calculated act of sabotage designed to steal everything I had built with my own hands. Yet, amidst the storm of emotions raging inside me, I forced myself to remain calm. Panic would only give him the upper hand. So I took a slow, steadying breath, anchoring myself in the quiet determination that had carried me through every challenge before. My mind sharpened, sifting through the chaos, plotting the first steps of my counterattack. I refused to be his victim. This was my fight now, one I would wage not with reckless fury, but with calculated precision. Every move Garrett made, every deceitful plan he laid, I would dismantle piece by piece. I knew the stakes. The company was not just my livelihood, it was my legacy, my proof that I could rise above the shadows cast by betrayal. In that moment, as the rain pattered softly outside and the dim light flickered over my resolute face, I made a silent vow. I would turn his poison into my power. He thought he could destroy me. Instead, I was about to show him what it truly meant to be underestimated. The clock struck 10 as the video call connected, flooding my screen with the crisp, professional faces of the executive team from a major San Francisco conglomerate. The sleek, glass-paneled conference rooms behind them contrasted sharply with my modest mountainside office, where the soft hum of my laptop mingled with the steady patter of rain outside. Each participant radiated authority, the CEO with his steely gaze, the CFO's meticulous notes, and the head of strategy whose sharp questions promised no easy answers. Their presence underscored the high stakes of this meeting. This was more than just a pitch, it was a decisive moment that could define the future of my startup. As I adjusted my headset and cleared my throat, I felt the weight of every sleepless night and every painstaking line of code settle on my shoulders. Garrett, though present on the call, seemed distant, too polished, too rehearsed, his usual charm replaced by a tension I could almost taste. I began presenting, my voice steady but laced with the passion that fueled my work. Detailed slides illuminated my screen, charts mapping out market potential, data analytics, and projections crafted through months of tireless research. The executives leaned in, eyes flicking between my words and the numbers, measuring every promise against hard evidence. Occasionally, Garrett interjected with practiced ease, attempting to steer the conversation, but I noticed the slight tremor in his hand and the subtle hesitation in his tone. He was holding onto a secret, and the room was thick with unspoken tension. Outside my window, the rain continued its relentless fall, cold, steady, unyielding, mirroring the storm brewing within the virtual room. But I was ready. This was my moment to prove that the heart and mind behind this company belonged to me, no matter what Garrett had planned. Garrett took a deliberate sip of his coffee, the rich aroma filling the air between us. At first, nothing seemed amiss. He smiled, nodded confidently, and began to speak. But as the minutes ticked by, a subtle shift crept over him. His words slowed, sentences tangled, and a faint flush crept across his pale cheeks. His hand trembled as he reached for the mug again, fingers fumbling awkwardly against the smooth ceramic. The polished, composed man I once knew was unraveling before the critical eyes of our potential investors. He blinked rapidly, struggling to focus on the screen, his usual sharpness clouded by confusion. I mean the proposal. His voice wavered, betraying the fog creeping into his mind. The room grew silent, the executives exchanging concerned glances, sensing something was terribly wrong. Inside, a strange mixture of satisfaction and sorrow swirled within me. This was no victory born from malice, but the consequence of betrayal coming full circle. Still, I held my composure, ready to step in and salvage the moment, not just for the company, but for myself. Outside, the rain hammered harder against the window pane, as if nature itself echoed the tension suffocating the room. Garrett's downfall was no accident. It was the first move in my silent, calculated response to the treachery that had shadowed our partnership for too long. As Garrett's words faltered and his composure slipped away, I seized the moment without hesitation. Calm and collected, I leaned forward and smoothly said, "Let me take it from here." My voice was steady, masking the storm of emotions beneath, a mixture of resolve, betrayal, and quiet triumph. With every slide I advanced, my confidence grew. Months of painstaking research, countless late nights, and deep analysis were finally coming to life in front of these key decision-makers. I explained the intricate details of our strategy, anticipating their concerns and answering questions with clarity and precision. The executives leaned in, their skepticism fading as they absorbed the depth of knowledge and passion I conveyed. I broke down complex data integrations, highlighted innovative solutions tailored to their unique challenges, and outlined a clear, actionable roadmap for success. Behind the scenes, my phone quietly recorded the entire meeting, not just as evidence, but as a symbol of reclaiming control over the narrative that Garrett had tried to rewrite. This wasn't just a presentation. It was my statement to the world. I was the architect of this company's future, and I wasn't going down without a fight. Outside, the relentless rain continued to fall, but inside, a new energy filled the room, one of respect, admiration, and undeniable authority. As I concluded, the nods and approving murmurs from the investors told me everything I needed to know. I had won back not only their trust, but also a vital piece of myself. While I was delivering the presentation flawlessly, there was a quiet reassurance knowing that my phone, strategically positioned, was capturing everything. Every stumble Garrett made, every slurred word, every fleeting look of confusion or frustration was preserved in crystal-clear audio and video. That recording wasn't just a backup for the meeting. It was my shield and my sword. Proof of Garrett's deceit, his calculated plan to sabotage me, and the unraveling of his carefully crafted facade. I replayed in my mind how his confident grin had twisted into panic as his body betrayed him. Knowing I had this evidence made the weight of betrayal slightly lighter. I wasn't just fighting with words and facts. I had the truth documented, undeniable, and ready to expose him at the perfect moment. This recording would be the keystone in my comeback, the undeniable proof that I was the rightful mind behind our success, and that Garrett's intentions were as toxic as the drink he mistakenly consumed. As the meeting progressed, a slow, almost intoxicating sense of satisfaction began to bloom inside me. It wasn't loud or boastful. It was a quiet, simmering sweetness, the kind of revenge that doesn't scream but steadily sinks in, making every moment taste a little richer. Watching Garrett falter, while I stood poised and confident, felt like reclaiming a piece of myself that had been stolen for too long. The irony was almost poetic. His own scheme backfired spectacularly, and I was the one who emerged stronger, in control. That feeling was unlike anything I'd experienced before. It was the calm before the storm of my comeback, the first real victory in a battle I had been silently preparing for. I felt the power of justice settling deep within me, fueling my resolve to see this through to the end. Revenge, I realized, wasn't about destruction. It was about restoration, taking back what was rightfully mine and standing tall in the face of betrayal. After the meeting, I knew I couldn't face this alone. The betrayal ran too deep, and the stakes were too high. So I reached out to Marcus, an old friend and a sharp financial attorney who had once helped me navigate a tricky legal situation. Marcus wasn't just any lawyer. He was someone I trusted implicitly, a steady presence when the world felt like it was crumbling around me. I sent him a carefully worded message, outlining everything I had uncovered, the deceit, the sabotage, the betrayal. Within hours, Marcus responded, ready to jump in and strategize our next moves. His confidence and expertise gave me the strength I needed. Together, we began piecing together a plan, not just to defend what was mine, but to turn the tables decisively. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, my work, and my dignity. With Marcus by my side, I felt ready to face whatever came next. Marcus and I dove headfirst into the painstaking process of gathering every piece of evidence we could find. Emails between Garrett and Simone that hinted at secret deals, cryptic messages plotting to undermine me, all carefully archived. We subpoenaed accounting records that revealed suspicious transactions, unauthorized transfers, forged signatures, and unexplained expenses tied directly to Garrett's and Simone's schemes. Most chilling of all was the proof of forged documents with my signature, used to manipulate contracts and siphon company assets into their own pockets. Each new discovery tightened the noose around their deceit, and with Marcus meticulously organizing the legal dossier, I felt the scales of justice beginning to tip. This wasn't just a personal vendetta anymore. It was a battle to reclaim what was rightfully mine and expose their betrayal to the world. As the legal documents piled up and the evidence became undeniable, the pressure on Garrett intensified like a storm closing in. His usual confident, slick demeanor began to crack under the weight of impending consequences. Meetings that once ran smoothly now ended in terse silences and forced smiles. Rumors of an internal investigation spread quickly through the company, and board members started whispering behind closed doors about his possible removal. Garrett, once the dominant force in the room, found himself fumbling for control, desperate to cling to the power slipping through his fingers. Each legal notice, every subpoena, was a hammer striking at his facade. He realized that not only was his grip on the company tenuous, but his reputation was unraveling before the very people he sought to impress. The very empire he helped build was now a battlefield, and his reign was on the brink of collapse. Despite the long road ahead, I could feel justice starting to tip the scales back in my favor. Every piece of evidence we uncovered, every witness who came forward, was a small victory, a step closer to reclaiming what was rightfully mine. It wasn't just about winning a legal battle anymore. It was about restoring my dignity and proving that betrayal and deceit couldn't define my story. Sure, the fight was far from over. There were still obstacles, skepticism, and the exhausting grind of litigation. But for the first time in months, I felt a quiet strength growing inside me, a certainty that fairness would prevail even if it took time. Knowing that I was standing firm, refusing to be silenced or erased, gave me a sense of peace amid the chaos. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life, my business, and my future. And no matter how long it took, I was ready. With the legal battles progressing, I turned my focus back to what I loved most, building my company. I started expanding the team, carefully recruiting talented professionals who shared my vision and passion. Each new hire was a fresh breath of energy and expertise, fueling our momentum. We secured major contracts, partnerships that not only validated our work, but also strengthened our foothold in the industry. Every signed deal felt like a personal victory, a reaffirmation that my dedication and hard work were finally paying off. Slowly but surely, Thornland Analytics began to reclaim its place as a respected player in the tech world. The doubts and betrayals that once threatened to crush me only made this comeback sweeter. I was no longer just fighting to survive. I was thriving, leading a company built on integrity, innovation, and resilience. As Thornland Analytics grew stronger, so did my reputation, not just as a business leader, but as a symbol of resilience and triumph over betrayal. What had once threatened to break me became the foundation for my comeback story. People began reaching out, others who had faced deceit, injustice, or personal setbacks, and I realized my journey resonated far beyond my own experience. I wasn't just rebuilding a company, I was inspiring a movement of empowerment and perseverance. Every challenge I had faced, every moment of doubt and pain, became a testimony to the strength we all carry within. I had transformed betrayal into fuel, turning wounds into wisdom and pain into power. In the end, I wasn't just surviving. I was leading, thriving, and showing that true victory comes not from revenge, but from rising above, reclaiming your story, and owning your power. This journey wasn't just about rebuilding a company or reclaiming a position in the industry. It was a rebirth, a profound renewal of my spirit, my confidence, and my sense of self-worth. I learned that true success isn't measured solely by titles or profits, but by the inner strength to rise after being knocked down. The betrayal I endured could have defined me, broken me. Instead, it became the catalyst that reshaped who I am. I found clarity in the chaos, purpose in the pain, and a deeper understanding of my own value. This transformation, this rebirth, reached far beyond the boardroom. It touched every part of my life, teaching me to set boundaries, demand respect, and embrace authenticity. I wasn't just rebuilding a career, I was rebuilding myself, stronger, wiser, and more unapologetically me. But the deeper we dug, Marcus and I uncovered a darker truth that went far beyond personal betrayal. Simone and Garrett weren't just scheming to take over our startup, they were deeply entangled in a shadowy network of black investment groups. These secretive organizations specialized in manipulating small tech companies like mine, exploiting vulnerabilities to funnel illicit profits, and control emerging markets from the shadows. It was a calculated game of power and deception, where they weaponized trust and ambition to destroy genuine innovation for their own gain. Knowing this made the betrayal sting even more. This wasn't just about a failed marriage or a business rivalry. It was a fight against a corrupt system designed to crush dreamers and creators. The stakes had escalated dramatically. I wasn't just defending my company anymore. I was standing up against a clandestine web of greed and manipulation, determined to expose their tactics and reclaim not only what was mine, but justice for everyone caught in their path. With the gravity of what we'd uncovered, Marcus and I knew this battle was bigger than us. We reached out to law enforcement, connecting with both local police and the FBI, who quickly recognized the scope and seriousness of the black investment syndicate we'd exposed. Together, we launched a meticulous, months-long investigation that pierced through layers of deception and hidden operations. Every email, every transaction, every secret meeting was traced back, piece by piece. The authorities worked tirelessly, and the pressure mounted on the shadowy figures pulling the strings. The tension was palpable. Every new lead could be the one that brought the entire organization crashing down. Finally, after relentless work, the coordinated raids unfolded. Key players were arrested across multiple states, their network dismantled, and their illegal empire shattered. The arrests sent shockwaves through the tech world and beyond, a powerful statement that even the most secretive corrupt forces could be brought to justice. For me, it wasn't just a personal victory anymore. It was the triumph of integrity over corruption, resilience over deceit. Standing alongside Marcus as the news broke, I felt a profound sense of justice, not only for myself, but for every innovator and entrepreneur who'd ever been exploited by similar schemes. As the investigation unfolded, what shocked me most wasn't just the scale of the criminal network, but the revelation that Garrett and Simone were far from being the masterminds I once thought they were. In fact, they were nothing more than pawns, puppets, manipulated by an even darker, more powerful force lurking behind the scenes. Evidence surfaced showing their every move was carefully orchestrated by influential figures in the tech and finance underground, pulling strings from the shadows while keeping their hands clean. Garrett and Simone's betrayal suddenly seemed less like cold-hearted ambition and more like desperate attempts to survive in a game they never fully controlled. The irony was bitter. While I believed I was fighting two betrayers, I had actually been up against a sinister web of control and deception far beyond them. Their downfall was swift and merciless once their true roles were exposed. Not only were they stripped of their power and credibility, but their complicity in the larger conspiracy was broadcast publicly, exposing them to a level of disgrace and consequences far worse than I had ever imagined. This deeper betrayal added a new layer to my story, a reminder that sometimes the enemy you see is only a surface reflection of a far greater darkness. But it also strengthened my resolve to keep pushing forward, knowing I had unraveled not just a personal treachery, but a corrupt system that preyed on countless others. My victory wasn't just personal, it became a beacon of truth that pierced through the shadows of a massive scandal. What began as my fight to reclaim what was mine grew into something far bigger, exposing a hidden network of corruption and deceit that had preyed on countless small tech startups like mine. Through relentless investigation and collaboration with law enforcement, we peeled back layers of secrecy, revealing how these shadowy investors manipulated companies, exploited founders, and siphoned off millions in illicit gains. The public exposure of this scandal sent shockwaves through the industry, forcing regulators and the media to confront uncomfortable realities that had long been swept under the rug. I had turned my darkest betrayal into a platform for justice, not just for myself, but for every entrepreneur who had ever been silenced or sidelined by those with power. It was a reminder that sometimes, the fiercest battles we face in business and life shine a light on systemic wrongs that demand change. In the end, my story was no longer just about survival. It became a catalyst for reform, accountability, and hope. I had won more than a legal battle. I had helped rewrite the narrative for countless others fighting their own hidden wars. This journey taught me invaluable lessons about vigilance, the power of intellect, and the unwavering strength required to stand tall in the face of betrayal. Revenge, I realized, isn't about destruction or revenge for its own sake. It's about rebirth, reclaiming your identity, and proving your worth on your own terms. To everyone watching, never let anyone dim your light or make you feel less than you are. Protect your rights fiercely, set clear boundaries in every relationship, whether personal or professional, and remember that your voice and your value matter deeply. More than that, I invite you to join a community where we lift each other up, those who have faced betrayal, injustice, or hardship. Together, we can share strength, inspire resilience, and build a positive force that turns pain into power and setbacks into comebacks. You are not alone. Your story matters, and your comeback starts now. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to join our community of fighters and survivors. Share your own experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Your voice can inspire someone else who's going through a similar battle. Remember, every setback is an opportunity to rise stronger. Tag a friend who needs to hear this message today, and let's grow together in strength and resilience. Thank you for watching. Stay strong, stay bold, and keep fighting for what you deserve.